Party's over.
Good evening.
It's time to call.
Welcome to another Big Island episode of Diatribes from the voice of Doom. Now here's your bellicose and belligerent host, voice of Doom. Always like Tony Bennett. Classic. Anyway, I thought I'd play that song. It's applicable in many ways, but I would say both parties should be over and solve a lot of problems. But party's over. Well, wasn't even going to do a diatribe today, and I'll tell you the truth, I did one about 20 minutes ago, and I was doing pretty good, and then I lost my train of thought, and I stood there and I went, I guess I'll erase this one. So I erased another one. That's about 5 I've erased in the last year. But I'll try again. What did I see that made me have to say something before I go to work? Well, I saw 3 things, all maddening and or scary and or perplexing. Now, I said the electoral system is a failure, and one of the reasons why is because the man on the street, the electorate, are delusional. I don't know what they're thinking. They're non-sentient human beings now. Saw a thing in Fox News, misinformation of course, but this was a guy just putting a mic in front of people's faces and saying, who would you vote for now, Democrats or Goppers? That was a simple question, and they answered it. So you can say fake news all you want. 9 out of 10 of them said D. Now, granted, it was in the city in Pennsylvania. Urbanites tend to vote D because they want free stuff. And that was one of the reasons given why they vote D. Another reason given, most of the reasons given, were by Caucasoid women who were past the childbearing age saying reproductive rights. That was their main issue. And one D said that they didn't want to vote for someone from Turkey, which xenophobia is all well and good if it's used correctly by the right side for the right reason. You can be a xenophobic, homophobic, transphobic, caucasoidophobic, or whatever phobic you want to be, fatophobic, as long as it's used correctly. Like, for instance, say there's a candidate for Republican governor who happens to be overweight. Then being fatophobic would be perfectly fine as a political tool. Now, most of them said they would vote D. So it just goes to show you that the powers that be, I'll give you another example right now, and I won't say powers that be, well, they're pulling the strings, but I would say another example of changing the perception and forcing the perception. This is a new thing now. It's one thing for Petri dish to change the perception, somehow try, but now we're going to force you. We're going to force your perception. Like the Star Trek when he sees 4 lights and the guy says, how many do you see? He says 4. The guy hits him and tortures him until he says, I see 5 lights, even though he did see 4. He forced him to perceive differently, and that's what they're doing to us. Now, I saw something maddening. Karine Jean-Pierre had the utter audacity, gall, impunicity to say, well, we're trying to fix the border that was broken by our predecessor. He wanted to build a wall and he only built bits and pieces, and then he couldn't even finish it in 4 years. A D, spokesman for a dullard who checks off all the boxes, has the utter gall to say he didn't finish the wall. Now, we can forget history as it happens. Live each life for the moment. Maybe that's where that came from. Live for the moment. Forget the past. Don't worry about the future. We can forget history as it happens, and that way we start off as a blank slate every second of the day. Because I forgot what I said just now. And then it'll be well and good. But if you happen to remember the past, I remember that the D's were very obstructive about building a wall on the southern border, and they called Orangey a xenophobe, and they called him a racist. And they convinced everyone else to perceive the fact that he's a racist. And now many, many, many people perceive that, and they're going to force everyone else to perceive it. So that's what happened in the past. Now what's happened in the recent past is when Petri dish took over, he did not say, let's expediently finish that wall. He left the pieces there to rot. That's the want of the D's, is to spend lots and lots and lots of money to buy things to let them sit there and rot. That's their platform, that's their philosophy in a nutshell. So, that got me a little bit angry to see that impunicity, because anyone with half a brain, which there's very few people left, can see that it's just a pack of crap. And she should be not allowed to be in the position she's in. I don't know what means you take, but I think the first thing is to get rid of the snake head, and then everybody else falls. And then, what else did I see? Well, most people don't see it because you barely can find it. It's like mostly on news outlets where they look like news outlets, and they probably sound like news outlets, but they're not Fox, they're not CNN, they're not MSNBC crap, and they're not, even Newsmax or some such, or PBS, or CBS, like those old ones, whatever they were. They're new news outlets that look very professional, and they come up with good data, and now you gotta go, who do I believe? And you can believe what's actually happening is they're raiding all of Orangey's cohorts. All of Orangey's henchmen are being raided one by one, all at the same time. It's the U.S. used to be government, whatever that diabolical organizations, it's their night of the long knives. They don't do it the way Vlad does it, or Schicklgruber. They do it with subpoenas and with raids. Now, what they're looking for, I don't know. They're looking for one of two things. They're looking for a document that implicates Orangey in anything, including parking tickets, or they're looking for a document which implicates Petri dish. And I think the latter might be more likely. But I think they can take whatever they get. But it's a fishing expedition. It's a deep sea trawling where everything's scooped up. Dolphins, humpback whales, everything, in order for them to cull the krill of whatever they need. Millions of documents. What does a document mean? I can do anything. I can take a document and Photoshop it into anything I want to. So, society is absurd. The electoral system's absurd. Forget about it. They're raiding Orangey's cohorts, looking for something, and doing it with impunity. We have a Nazi regime running whatever this is, and we have a Gestapo in the Justice Department, and people are just going to put up with it until it reaches their door. And it is reaching a lot of doors. In fact, it's ironic that the urbanites that are so behind the D's, so that they can keep, they can keep abortion free and legal, are in the very cities that seem to be falling apart by crime and just by all out the decay. Too many people. It's just urban decay, deterioration. But especially the crime is happening everywhere. It's always happening in these cities that they're voting D so badly for. So I don't understand that. This is perception is very important. And a lot of people are perceiving things the way they seem to be, and they're in a very small minority, and they're not being heard, and they're being accused of being horrible people. And we're heading into a dystopia, so there is one saving grace, is the conflagration. And that's going to take everybody's mind off their petty little crap, because they're going to be running. And they don't know where they're going to run to. That's how bad it's going to be. But the people that have a mission on this planet will survive. And that is the hope I will leave you with. I want the conflagration to come quickly so we can start again. I've told you this over and over again. It's beyond repair. This planet, as it's being run now, is irreparable. So, I think I'll post this one. It's a little bit more articulate than my last one, even though I did say a little more in the last one. But we'll leave it at that. I gotta go to work, so enjoy the rest of the time we have here. Bye.